Well, the future of African Americans does not look real promising in my estimation. There are a number of issues that we need to deal with that we're not dealing with, and until we can address those issues, we're going to be in pretty bad shape. Um, I got some notes, so if you don't mind me,
Go right ahead. No, man, go right ahead.
Utilizing my notes and stuff to keep me on point.
Go right ahead.
I mean, there are a number of issues. One, I think we suffer from a pathological denial of reality. When I say a pathological denial of reality, I usually start, when I start off doing lectures, I usually ask three questions. One, do you think the United States government works in the best interest of black people in America? Question two, do you think, based on your current life experiences, that the majority of, do you believe, based on your life experience, that black people will ever be treated on a fair and equitable basis, no different from white people? And number three, if me and you was playing cards and you knew I was cheating, would you keep playing with me? When I ask those questions, people always answer no to all three questions. No, the United States government doesn't work in our best interest. No, there ain't gonna never come a time when black people are treated on a fair and equitable basis, no different from white folks. And no, I wouldn't keep playing cards with you if I knew you was cheating. Well, I go back to the third question first. If you wouldn't play cards with me if you knew I was cheating, then why are we playing this game with the United States as though they were playing fair when we know that they are not? You wouldn't play with me if you knew I was cheating you. So why are we playing with these people when we know that they're cheating us, when we know that they're doing us wrong? And so part of it just has to do with accepting certain realities. I talked to people about this young lady named Sally Sue and how she was kidnapped and raped and beaten and tortured and dogged out, and after a certain amount of time she wanted to be adopted by the kidnapper's family. And when I asked, was Sally Sue crazy, everybody says yeah. And then I tell people, well, I ain't talking about Sally Sue, I'm talking about black people in America. And then we get to stumble talking because we did not told the real truth, except we didn't realize we put our foot in our mouth. All right, the reality, unfortunately for us, is that as long as we identify with this country, with this society, and with its values, we're going to remain mental prisoners of these people. And if we don't believe that the American government is going to treat us right, and if we don't believe that there is ever going to come a time when we're treated on a fair and equitable basis, no different from white folks, then what exactly are we fighting for? And why are we trying to reform a society that we have already concluded is beyond reform? If we ain't looking at issues of independence and sovereignty at this stage of the game, I don't know what we're doing besides playing games with ourselves. We have a major identity crisis. Are we black? Are we African? Are we Negro? Are we colored? We don't even know who we are. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know who to pledge your allegiance to. You don't know whose side you should be on. You don't know who your friends are and your enemies are. You'll end up, as Malcolm said, then your enemies are your friends and your friends are your enemies. We suffer a major crisis in our relationships and our families. What most people refer to as relationships are, in fact, what I would refer to as connections. Maulana Karinga wrote a piece 20-some years ago called Liberation of Love and Struggle. And in that, he defined what he called a relationship, which he defined as a long-term association based on the mutual benefit of the two people involved, versus what he called a connection, which is the short-term utilitarian association based on the mutual use and misuse of each other's bodies and resources. And that within that context, what we refer to as relationships are in fact one of four, what he calls the infamous four connections. The first one is the cash connection, where the so-called relationship exists solely on the basis of cash. When the cash goes, so does the so-called relationship, because that's the only reason it existed to begin with. The second one is the sex connection. When you see the sister wearing the mini skirts and the daisy dukes and the halter tops and the skirts with the slit up the front, back, and side, she ain't doing that to impress another sister. She's trying to make a statement to me as a male that I got the honey. And when you see brother walking around with his suits and his Lexus and his Cadillacs and his Escalades and his diamond rings and bling and all that crap on, he ain't doing that to impress me. He's trying to make a statement to the sister that I got cash. If you want something, you need to come hang with me. And so what you have is these two people lying to each other, trying to BS each other, trying to get the most out and give up the least. And whoever gets their head bumped first, and they want to claim the other person done them wrong. The third one is the forced connection, where you have these insane so-called relationships that are maintained through either physical coercion, as in the brother says they got to beat my woman once a month to keep her in line, or psychological coercion on the part where you find these women who want to jump up in a man's face and scream and holler, knowing good and well if she keeps it up, sooner or later he's going to go upside her head so she can call the police. Well, she will whoop his butt if she could, but since she can't, she don't get the police to do it for her. So you got that, or you had just this whole psychological coercion where, if a sister doesn't respond the way I want her to, then brothers want to call her B's and H's and call her out their names and so forth and so on. Or the sister that wants to, question this brother's man. Well, if you was a man, you would do this. If you was a man, you do that. She ain't never been a man, so she don't know nothing about that crap. All right, so all of that. And then finally, you have the last one is called the dependency connection, where a person becomes so accustomed to these user-be-used, dog-be-dog type so-called relationships that they can't function outside that context. That if they actually found a person they thought was nice and kind and sweet and gentle, thoughtful and caring, in reality they think this is the biggest fool in the world, and they proceed to bump their head and pump them for everything they could get. And so as long as our so-called relationships are based on these insane connections, then and we're producing children from these relationships, we're going to hell in the handbasket, so to speak. Are our children priorities, or are they accidents? All right, is this something that, are we deliberately having children in order to raise a family and raise a nation? Are we accidentally having children because we happen to screw around and didn't use protection and we deal with a Eurocentric educational system that does not prepare us to solve the problems which confront us. We have bought into the myth of America, not the reality of America. In fact, I'd like to read a quote from a book, Blueprint for Black Power, that I use for the particular class that I teach. And essentially, this quote says, educational establishments are as much a part of the defense establishment of a people as is their army. A people bereft of educational institutions dedicated and designed to defend their interests and solve their problems are essentially a defenseless people. And so unfortunately, that's where we fall. We are essentially defenseless because we don't have educational institutions that are dedicated and designed to solve our problems. They are designed to create problems for us. And they're very effective at doing this. They are designed to prepare us to go to jail and prepare us to work in low-paying jobs, to prepare us to assume the role of an inferior being in the context of America. And so unfortunately, this is the reality that we're faced with. We suffer from a scandalously traitorous leadership. Both political and intellectual whose primary interest is in keeping their job and serving their white master's interests, not in the interest of their so-called constituency. And so as long as you have a leadership like this that's selling us down the river every opportunity they get, we as a people are going to find it very difficult to be able to move ahead and make any kind of substantive progress.